In our first set of videos, we learned how to butcher a whole chicken. We separated the wings, the legs, the breast. Now we're going to talk about how to debone a raw chicken piece by piece. First, we're going to butcher it the same way we did it in our previous set of videos. We have a very nice poulet jaune, beautifully bred, nice color. It's absolutely gorgeous. We're now again down to one nice breast, two whole legs and the two wings. This is what we are interested in deboning this time. As you probably remember, the back, the carcass, is definitely for stock. Wings. Let me show you a very nice way to make some lollipops out of your chicken wings. First off, keep your wing whole. All three parts of the wing are all in place. Now, with a cloth, very clean cloth, just hold the tip of the wing and pull and push so that the two bones of the wing will go through the skin. With the two bones out, I can now take rid of the tip and discard it, of course, for the stock. I can also cut the last joint of the wing and take the smaller part. The thinner bone will go out absolutely immediately, so that at the end of the thicker bone I can create the first lollipop. For the last part of the wing, you only need to use your paring knife to cut the sinew around the bone and push all the flesh down to the other end of the bone. As simple as that. And yet, you get the second lollipop on the bigger part of your wing. There's another trick you can do with the end of your bone, because the moment you will dip this into very hot oil, it will become black and not really pleasant. So, you take your chef's knife and place it close to the point the tip of the bone starts to thicken to the end. Then one push and that's it. There's no marrow getting out. You only need to scrape the tendons off and clean it so that nothing will become black when you start frying your wings. This technique is normally called French trimming, and it's used for many other types of meat cooked on the bone. We're done with the wings. Let's go to the legs. As you definitely know, there are two parts of a bird's leg. There's the thigh and the drumstick. We'll first debone it in two pieces, and the other one will debone in one piece, a whole leg. Let's go. First thing, to detach the thigh from the drumstick, you have to put your leg face up and look for this line of fat. You'll never miss it if you always look for that thin line that shows you where the joint is. Let me show you. Straight through the joint, absolutely no problem. And now we have the two pieces, okay? We'll just make an incision along the bone. We'll expose the bone so that we can see where to continue cutting without losing too much flesh. The moment I start to detach the bone, all I need to take care of is the least amount of flesh to be lost. You can use the knife to scrape the flesh off the bone, as we did with the wings, and in the end just make one cut. This also goes to the stock, of course. And now we have a whole thigh, no bone. Beautiful. The drumstick, it's almost the same thing. We'll take advantage that the upper side of the bone is already exposed, and we'll use a paring knife so that we can detach the flesh off the end of the bone. Always try to cut the sinew and scrape the flesh so that, again, you don't lose too much flesh. So cut the sinews, scrape the meat. When you expose your bone enough, just push with your fingers. No problem whatsoever. Push. And then take it off the bone, just like a sock. We save the bone for the stock, and then we can turn the drumstick flesh inside out, or more like an outside in, so that we can use it. I just cut the end, the tendon, and that's it. So we have two pieces, the thigh and the drumstick, boneless. Now let's see the other leg that is still whole, and we'll try to debone entire without separating the two parts, the thigh from the drumstick. It's a very good technique when you decide to make a stuffed bird's leg, like a chicken leg or duck leg or partridge, whatever you want to cook. It's a very good technique to keep it whole so that at the end you have a nice roll with a good stuffing inside. Again, as we previously did, we'll try to expose the bone, the tip of the bone, cutting through the sinews and saving as much flesh as possible. Okay? And push with the fingers so that we scrape the flesh and we keep everything together. And now we're down to the joint. The joint is already exposed. All I need to do is to go around the bone and do the same thing that I did before, only keeping these two parts of the leg together. So again, making my way, finding my way around the bone through the sinews and taking care of the flesh. I'm now under the joint, continuously scraping the flesh off the bone. And now that I'm almost free, I can simply push, just like I did before, the flesh off the bone. And that's about it. I'm at the end of the bone, and just like a sock, the skin will help me pull the bone out. Pretty clean, isn't it? Let's see the flesh now. Again, outside in, inside out, and now we can see a whole leg, zero bone, ready to be stuffed and nicely cooked. just a bit at the end, the tendon that we always take out. And that, my friends, is a whole leg, nicely deboned and ready to be stuffed and cooked. Wings are done, legs are done, and of course for the ladies we'll get to the nice breast. First thing when deboning the breast is to take care of the wishbone. You know, that little V bone that is placed at the upper end of the breast. It's very simple. You have to take it off even when you decide to cook a whole chicken, because it will be in the way of your blade when you start carving the chicken. So pull the skin up and expose the upper end of the breast, because we know the V-shaped bone is right here. Then with a paring knife, just make 2 small incisions, left side and right side of the wishbone. Then stick your fingers in and try to take as much of the flesh you can off the wishbone, so that when you take it out, there's least amount of flesh on it. Now I placed my fingers left and right to the wishbone, scraping the meat off the bones, and then cracking the whole bone at the joining point. Sometimes you take it out as a whole bone, sometimes it gets out in pieces, but you have to practice. It got out as a whole bone. Pull the skin back and find the middle of the breast. With the boning knife, you only have to cut once, carefully, close to the bone, one end to the other. After making the incision between the 2 sides of the breast, the only thing I have to do is just to clean the bone, to take the flesh off the bone by simply inserting the blade of the knife close, very close to the bone and cutting off the meat. For the last part, I don't really need the knife, because with the fingers I can keep separating the flesh from the bone and detaching it as simple, as easily as you can see. And that's it. A first half that is now ready to be prepped and cooked. Let's see it again with the other side of the breast that is still on the bone. First thing, I have to take care and cut so that the bone is not into my way, and then with the fingers I just pull the flesh off the bone. Just a bit of knife at the end, and that's about it. The other half of the breast waiting to be prepped and cooked. A bit of skin here. One more detail: if you decide to cook this side of the breast as a whole, you should probably need to take away this small piece of flesh that will be in your way while cooking it, so that you only need to take it off. It contains a bit of sinew that usually gets out before you cook it. You can also cook this as a separate piece, the small fillet, so that will not be in your way while cooking this nice piece of boneless chicken breast. This whole technique of deboning a whole raw chicken in pieces might take a few minutes, but let's face it, if you have enough passion for food, you should try and keep practicing.